saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah, Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints of the Most High. All praise to Yahawah, Ahchyam Ahchwathyam.
All praise to the Most High. See these saints, we don't move like most guys. The light here so I can step with closed eyes and still see the enemy coming from both sides. Come to the saints and get sanctified. You ain't holy if you ain't got a saint to ride. I'm a saint for death and a saint for life. So it was probably the same in my ancient life. I was a man of sin that paid the price and still owe. So I'm trying to get my wages right. This for the masses. Yahawah been kicking our asses. It's with the children of Israel, if you ask us.
We the saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah, Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah, Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah, Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. We the saints and the Most High. All praise to Yahawah, Ahchyam Ahchwathyam. Well, and we them saints that sing a new song. It's our people dying every time we turn the news on. It's our people wearing capes, get they coon on. For the ones who took it on, never putting you on. See, we dealing with the Stockholm syndrome. Talking to my people when they not gonna listen. They listen to these crackers, they got no wisdom, got no flavor.
Shalawam, shalawam, shalawam. Let's give all praises, honor, glory, esteem to the Father Yahawah and his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Thank you to all the Ahchyam and the Ahchwathyam that may tune in and that are tuned in right now. Please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. That will help this video go further than it usually would. So please make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. Today we have a good lesson. And for those that are tuned in and they will tune in, hopefully it will be edifying for you. So the lesson today, as you can see on the screen, will be called, what is the new commandment and are you keeping it? What is the new commandment and are you keeping it? Once again, the water for everybody that may be tuned in and that are tuned in. For the last people that were here, or the last live when you were here, we was having issues with the internet. So hopefully today it will be much, much better and we won't have any technical difficulties since we have got that taken care of. So with that being said, we're going to dive into the lesson. I'm so thankful for those that will tune in at a later time to get this edification through the scripture, through the spirit, through the word, right? So we want to just give all praises, honor, and glory to our Father. Once again, to his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. And let's dive into some scriptures here. Let me share my screen. And the first one I'm going to be going to is the book of Baruch in the 1611 King James Bible. In the 1611 King James Bible. If you do not have a 1611 King James Bible, please email us and let us know. And if you can afford one, we will help you get one because it is very important for you to have one, right? So we'll be starting in the book of Baruch, chapter 3, and I'm going to jump down to about verse, 24 is what I want. So this is the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 24, and it says, O Israel, how great is the house of the Most High, and how large is the place of his possessions. Great, and have none end. So he had his possession, or the place that he is in, has no end, as it's saying. It's high and unmeasurable. There were the giants famous from the beginning. Everybody always talking about the giants, the Nephilims and things of that sort. So everybody know about the giants, right? They were of so great stature and so expert in war. Those did Yahawah not choose, though. The Most High did not choose those people. Why didn't he choose the giants? You would think if you have read the scriptures, right, and the Nephilims and the way people talk about them and the characters that they make, the videos that they make, and they were so big and tall and great, as it just says, experts in war. Why didn't the Most High choose them? It says, those did not the Most High Yahweh choose, neither gave he the way of knowledge unto them. So he didn't even give those giants the way of knowledge, right? Verse 28, but they were destroyed because they had no wisdom and perished through their own foolishness, who have gone up into the Shemayim, or heaven, and taken her and brought her down from the clouds, who have gone over the sea and found her, and will bring her for pure gold. No man knoweth her way, nor thinketh in her path. So no man knows the way, and no man thinketh of her path, right? What are we talking about? This is clearly talking about what we're going to find out here. 32. But he that knoweth all things knoweth her, and hath found her out with his understanding. Who knoweth all things? The Most High Yahweh, right? Our Father. He knows all things. He that prepared the earth forevermore have filled it with the four-footed beasts. He has filled this earth with the four-footed beasts that we see, the horses, the zebras, the cows, all of the oxen, all those different things, right? Verse 33. He that sendeth forth light, and it goeth, calleth it again, and it obeyeth him with fear. Let me pull this up to verse 34. The stars shine in their watches, and rejoice when he calleth them. They say, here we be. And so with cheerfulness they shewed light unto him that made them. This is our Most High, right? Or Allah, our power. And there shall none other be accounted of in comparison of him. So there's no other deity, no other God that can be in comparison to the Father, right? That we worship. The Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Matthew 22, verse 32. This is what he states, and this is what he's going into, even in the book of Matthew, right? Deuteronomy chapter 6. We can pull a couple of those later, but it says nothing out there is in comparison to him, right? People that don't like to believe, they like to say it's a greater power out there. Well, that greater power, or the universe that you're speaking about, is the Most High Yahweh, right? Verse 36. He hath found out all the way of knowledge, and have given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved. So if you read verse 36 right here, let me break it down and read it slow. He hath found out all the way of knowledge. So all the knowledge that the Most High has, he has given it. Well, let me say this. Well, he has given it. He has given it to who? Jacob, his servant, and Israel, his beloved. Because everything that we have in the Torah, in the writings, in the Tanakh, all those things that we have are knowledge and information and instructions from the Most High, right? This is why it says, as I'm going to read in a little bit, that you will be illuminated, right? Verse 37. Afterward did he show himself upon the earth and converse with man. Let me go to the next chapter, chapter 4, right? Let me blow it up, son. Once again, this is Baruch chapter 4. I'm going to read verse 1 and 2. It says right here in verse 1, this is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. So when we leave the Most High word, that's when we fall off. That's when we go astray. That's when we literally die and perish, because we have left his very word, his instructions, his commandments that he has given us. That's why it says in verse 1, this is the book of the commandments of the Most High, and it's the law that endureth forever. When people say that the law is done away with, well, in here it says that the law endureth forever. Verse 2, it says, turn thee, O Jacob. Who was knowledge given to? Jacob, right? In Israel. We just read it in the previous chapter, chapter 3. So it says, turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. So what are you taking hold of? Knowledge from the Most High, because it was given to you, Jacob. So you need to take hold of what? The knowledge, and walk in the presence of the light thereof. So when you walk in light, light reflects and it makes you illuminated, as it's about to say, that thou may be illuminated. What illumination are you giving off? You're giving off a wise man, that you're a very wise man. Why? Because the way you handle yourself, the way you conduct yourself, the way you live your life, the things that you do and produce, a person can only say that that's very wise, right? That's very wise of you. Let me show you that's true in the Bible. Let me go to that real quick. Let me stop sharing that. And then let me go to, hold on, let me go show you this in the Bible. Let me go to right here, Deuteronomy real quick, chapter 4. This is what the Bible says about that. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 4. I'll just read verse 6. I'll start at verse 6. Keep therefore and do them. So what are we keeping? His law, statutes. Let me read verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me. Right? This is Moses speaking, that you should do so in the land, whether you go and possess it. So the children of Israel will go into the land of what? Canaan, as we know. Verse 6. Keep therefore and do them. For this is your what? Wisdom, right? The knowledge, the wisdom. So if you keep these commandments that he has given us, these instructions that he has given us, this is your wisdom. This is what the Bible is saying, that people in general in the world will look at you as being what? Illuminated. It will be a light shining off for you, because why? This is your wisdom. You will be a wise man or a wise woman. It says, keep therefore and do them. For this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of who? Of the nations, which means what? The other people of the world, right? Nations mean people. So it's telling you, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight, while you're around all of these other people, all around these other nations, right? This is your wisdom, your understanding, which shall hear all these statutes. Let me highlight this real quick. Verse 6, which shall hear all these statutes, right? And say, surely this great nation or this great people is a wise and understanding people. So if you hearken and you listen to the Most High and his instructions and his commandments, as we just read in the book of Baruch, chapter 3, verse 24, I believe, all the way down, and chapter 4, verse 1 and 2, when it says you will be illuminated. Why? Because you will be wise, and the other people of the world will realize that you are a wise man, like I said, or a wise woman, because why? You are listening and you have the knowledge and the wisdom of the Most High. You're hearkening, listening, opening up your ears, and doing what it is that he asked you to do. I don't want to say told you to do, because he asked you to do, you know. Yeah, he gave it to us, but he's asking you as a father would ask his son or ask his daughter. Then in verse 7, it says, for what nation is there so great, who have the Most High so nigh unto him, as Yahawah, our power is in all things that we call upon him? And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgments so righteous as what? As this law. So it's speaking about the law and how righteous it is, which I set before you this day. And then verse 9 says, only take heed to thyself. Now you need to take heed to this, meaning you need to pay attention to this, and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thy eye have seen, and lest they depart from the heart. Salakia, that they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them. Who are you going to teach them to? Thy sons and thy sons' sons and the sons, right? So you want to continually teach this to your children, and hopefully your children to teach it to their children, and their children to teach it to their children, which will be your grandchildren or your great grandchildren. You want this to keep going. You want to keep giving this knowledge that has been given for Jacob to your ancestors, right? To your descendants, I should say, your descendants, right? Con. Okay, let me go back real quick. Let me see if anybody's in the chat. Okay. Once again, whoever's watching, Shalawam, the water for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure to hit that like button for me. Let me go back. Stop sharing that. And then let me go to the 1611 King James Bible again real quick. But this time I want to go to the book of Sirach, or better known as the book of Ecclesiasticus, right? And we're going to get into that new commandment. I just wanted to hit a few key points real quick before we go into that, right? So this is the book of Sirach, or book of Ecclesiasticus, better known, right? In the 1611 King James Bible. You can see it on the screen. It blew way up, okay? And I'm going to jump down to, this is chapter 3. I think I'm going to go to verse 17. He that forsake his father is a blasphemer. No, yeah, I'm going to go to 17, so I'm going to start right there. And it says, my son, go on with thy business in meekness, right? In meekness, be humble. Go ahead. Do whatever you're going to do. Your business, whatever it is you're going to do, but do it humbly. So shalt thou be beloved of him that is approved. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. So the greater you are, the more you become exalted, the more you should humble yourself. So you shouldn't be getting, or shouldn't be exalted and get more pride, more arrogancy or more arrogant. You should become humble or humbler as you continue to rise. This is what it's saying. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before who? The Most High Yahawah. So the more we try to humble ourselves and work on ourselves, we start to find favor with the Most High. Is it easy? Of course not. If it was easy, everybody would do it, right? But continue to work at it. I continue to work at it. I'm not perfect. I don't give up, though. If I fall, I fall, but I get back up the next day. If I stumble, I stumble. Me and the Ak was texting back and forth the other day. And I was telling them, man, it's hard, It's just everyday things, whether it could be a bill, it could be the kids, it could be work, it could be it's hot, it could be anything, Just anything can kind of throw you off and make you feel a certain way or feel angry or just take you out of character that fast, but you got to be able to restrain yourself, and it's hard at times because you may want to be angry, but you can't be angry. You may want to lash out, but you can't lash out. Why? Because you're a man of the Most High or you a woman of the Most High. So that character has to remain. It's certain things that you just can't do, and in this world, in this life, sometimes it's hard, especially being humble, Verse 19, many are in high places and of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto who? The meek. So these mysteries that the Most High has, those things are revealed to the meek, to the humble ones, right? The ones who walk in meekness, just like the earth is going to be given over to who? The meek. Verse 20, for the power of the Most High Yahawah is great, and he is honored of the lowly. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search things that are above thy strength. It's a lot of Ahchyam out there and Ahchwathyam, brothers and sisters, that are seeking things that may be too hard for them, right? Now, I can't point the finger and say what's hard for you, but I see a lot of things back and forth, which are like debates. One just came across my thing where it says, two brothers, Ahchyam, and they were going back and forth in a debate about is the Sabbath on the seventh day, or do you keep the Sabbath by the moon and things like this? Those things are obsolete. Like, why are you concerned about those things? The Bible tells us don't be concerned about those things. If the brother is keeping the Sabbath, he keeping the Sabbath, whether it's on the seventh day or on the moon day. Just be happy that the brother keeping the Sabbath. Now, move on and love your brother. Who cares? But those type of things want to show that somebody is right, to exalt one out of the other brother, to show that I'm right and you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. The only one who's right is Hamashiach Yahawashi and the Father. So when Hamashiach Yahawashi come back, he's going to set the standard. Because even though you may think you're right, you may not be right. So man, what does it say in Proverbs? I believe in Proverbs, trust not in thy own way, or trust not in thy own understanding, right? Or lean not unto your own understanding. So yeah, you may think you're right, but you really may be wrong. But what does it matter? So it's a lot of things out there that the brothers of the Ahchyam are seeking because they want validation that they right. But just because you feel that you're right, or you may win a debate and then you think you're right, doesn't really mean that you're right anyway. So I just wanted to read that up where it says, seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search out the things that are above thy strength. Verse 22, but what is commanded of thee? See, this is what we should be focused on. We debating on when is the Sabbath and this and that and all these things, but the Bible is telling us to be focused on what? But what is commanded of thee? If the brother is keeping the Sabbath, then keep it. Like Paul said, don't let nobody talk to you about meat, or when you keep the Sabbath, or when you keep the holy days, or when, how come it's okay for some Ahchyam to keep a holy day on this Tuesday, on, just hypothetically on the 12th, and then some other ox keep it on the, on the first day, right, which is the 22nd. But nobody got a problem with that. But, nobody's sitting up debating that. But then you want to debate other things like the full moon, when is the beginning of the month, and when, like, who cares? That's only validation for the flesh and for the man. That's all it is. Because no matter what you think, whether you right or wrong, when Hamashiach come back, he's going to set the standard. And if you were right, all praises. And if you wasn't, you just went through all that back and forth with you and your brother for nothing, thinking you were right, when you could have been doing other things with that time, still talking about the gospel, preaching the gospel, instead of debating your brother about when is the Sabbath day. But anyway, verse 22, but what is commanded of thee? Think thereupon it with reverence, for it is not needful for thee to see with thy eyes the things that are in secret. Verse 23, be not curious in unnecessary matters, for more things are showed unto thee than men understand. So clearly we know that certain men have more understanding than others. And it's telling you at the top of it, be not curious in unnecessary matters. So something may be revealed to you, but it's not revealed to another brother or those brothers, So you can't be mad because it's revealed to you and those other brothers don't get it because it's not revealed to them. We should only be focused on what? The things that's commanded of us. If the Most High reveals something to you, all praises. Verse 24 says, for many are deceived by their own vain opinion. And this is what I don't want the brothers to be deceived, or the Ahchyam, which are the sisters, to be deceived on your vain opinion. Thinking that, oh, well, if you don't keep the lunar Sabbath, then we can't be friends, or you can't be my sister, or you can't be my brother, or we can't, vibe with each other because you keep the 7-day Sabbath and I keep the lunar day Sabbath, or you keep the full moon at the and you believe the full moon is the beginning of the month. All these different things is just division and separation. And this is why it says, for many are deceived by their own vain opinion. It's just your opinion. Until Hamashiach come back, it's only an opinion. I don't care how right and how many scriptures you go into and break down. It's still your opinion. And an evil suspicion has overthrown their judgment. Don't let this evil thing overthrow your judgment and bring division between the Ahchyam and the Ahchwathyam, the brothers and the sisters. We should be more concerned about what? The brotherly love. Learning how to love one another. And that's a big problem with inside of our nation. We don't know how to love one another. We really don't. If we did, we wouldn't see all this crime committed amongst each other. You know, black on black crime, brown on brown crime, black on brown crime, like the hate. We know how to hate, but one thing we don't know how to do is love, right? Which we're commanded. Let me get that in the Bible real quick. Let me stop sharing that and go over real quick. What's going on, Brother Marv? How you doing? Shalawam, peace and blessings to you, Brother Marv. It says, I feel it is most important to understand original customs, interpretations, and doctrine, which hasn't deviated over the centuries. Khan. And that's, you know, I'm glad you said something like that, because that's what a lot of those things have happened, right? A lot of those things have happened. And this is why I'm saying, why are we sitting, debating and going back and forth and almost arguing with our very brother over things that, you know, may have changed over time? And you're not even doing what's right. This is what I'm saying. We'll wait till Hamashiach come back and he'll show us in general what and when we should really be doing this, right? Leviticus chapter 19. Let me make sure it's sharing. Khan. Leviticus 19. And I think I'm gonna start at verse 17, right? For those, Leviticus 19, verse 17, it says, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any ways or anywise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him. Let me see how it renders it in the NL, right? So when people say your brother, because I know it says another way in the New Living, it says, do not nurse hatred in your heart for any of your relatives, right? So we know as people that were brought here on ships and things of this nature, and you have relatives and you have family members that you know and then you may not know. Why are you nursing this hatred for another brother or another sister, or if in that case just another human being? The Bible is letting us know, do not nurse hatred in your heart, especially for any of your relatives. It says comfort people directly so you will not be held guilty for their sins. So like you confront people directly. This is what you want to do, right? Let me go into this. Verse 18, it says, do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against a fellow Israelite, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Most High Yahawah. So he's telling us in verse 17 and verse 18 that we can't deal with what? Hatred in our heart. That's not what he wants for us to have. But it's so clear that that's what we have in our heart. And it's very easy. This is why we get angry so fast, right? And we're taught to be that way. You know, we're taught to be. This is why people fly off the handle. If you're driving down the street, you can only blow your horn, right? I know my wife, sometimes I blow the horn. She like, don't even blow the horn. Them people, they'll get out and shoot you. So this world has come to a place where even if you at a light or somebody's about to hit you, you can't even really blow your horn. or you can't even say anything. They'll flip you off. They'll pull out a gun. They'll want to shoot you just for blowing your horn. That's how much hatred people have in their heart for no reason against you, but they'll take it out on you. So this is why we have to be cautious and go to the scriptures and see what, as a believer, how should we conduct ourselves? Because it says, do not nurse hatred, meaning to let it kind of stir up in there, let it linger in there, in your heart of any of your relatives. So all those people in the church that say they believe in the Bible, in those congregations, in those churches, but backbiting one another, right? Talking about one another, putting each other down, right? That's nursing hatred for one of your relatives. You might say, well, that's not my blood relative. But if that person is a believer and you're a believer, then you relative. The Bible tells us that the family that we came from is not the family that we are in now. Just like when Yahawashi was there and his mother and brother came, he said, who is my mother or my brother but those who do the will of my father? You have entered into a new family now. The family you are in now is the ones who believe. It says confront people directly. Don't talk behind somebody's back. Don't put them down behind their back. Don't backbite behind their back. Confront people directly so you will not be held guilty for the sin. Verse 18 says, do not seek revenge. So you can't seek revenge. This is what I said earlier. Like sometimes you in the flesh, you feel a certain way, It could be as simple you just closing the door and locking it, knowing that your companion had to come in there, or some groceries or something. You don't want to, you upset, so you don't want to go outside. It's just a lot. So you do petty things, but you can't be petty when it comes to being a believer and walking with the Most High, because he has all these things laid out for us. This is why it says, do not seek revenge or bear a grudge. That's bearing a grudge against a fellow Israelite. But love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Most High Yahweh. And then verse 19 says, you must obey all my decrees. Right? So you have to obey this as a believer. I'm just saying, like, we have to think about, when we read these stories in the Bible about who hated and who didn't hate. Let's get another one real quick. We'll go all the way back in Genesis, right? 27, right? Real quick. Genesis chapter 27, we'll jump all the way down to about verse 40, right? We're going to go to Esau and Jacob. Esau and Jacob. Somebody come open this door for her. You got your key. Genesis chapter 40, 27 and verse 41. It says, for that time on Esau hated Jacob, right? From that time on, Esau hated Jacob. How you doing? Tired? Good. That's good. It's good to be tired. I mean, you did a lot today.
Yeah, and then tomorrow after class, I'm going job hunting with my friend Ayana, and then we're going again on Friday with Naya.
Oh, yeah, that's good. You job hunting, that's good.
Yeah.
Salakia for the people out there. My daughter just walked in. So it says, from that time on, Esau hated Jacob because their father had given Jacob the blessing, and Esau began to scheme, I will soon be mourning my father's death. Then I will kill who? My brother. Now, this is totally against scripture. Totally against scripture. This is his relative. We just read it in Leviticus. This is his, not only is it his relative, this is his brother. But he's nursing this hatred in his heart. He's only waiting on his father to die. And then as soon as his father dies, he's going to kill his brother. Right? He's going to kill his brother. So this is all the way back. This is nothing new. It's been since the beginning, as you can see, all the way from the book of Genesis. We could have even went further back with Cain and Abel. But I just wanted to show this one. But it's the same thing with Cain and Abel, right? Abel was righteous. He was doing something good for the Most High. And Cain didn't want to do what he was supposed to do. And he let that evil get into his heart. He nursed that hatred in his heart. And he ended up killing his brother, just as Esau wanted to kill Jacob, right? I just wanted to show that. Marv say Shalawam. Shalawam, Marv. Peace and blessing once again. Thank you for that other comment. For those who may be tuning in and didn't see it, let me put it back up on the screen. I'm going to read it one more time. It says, I feel it's most important to understand the original customs, interpretation, and doctrine, which hasn't been deviated over the centuries, right? So that's a very important statement. So I wanted to make sure I put that back up there. But as we move forward, let's go to the book of Proverbs real quick, right? Proverbs 26. And we're going to jump all the way down to about verse 24. It says, people may cover their hatred with pleasant words, but they're deceiving you. And people do that. You know, you ask people all the time, how you doing? And people say, I'm doing fine. But when they see you, before they speak in their mind, they say, oh, I can't stand that person. Or every time they see you, they hate you. You know, this is why it says people may cover up their hatred with pleasant words. They standing out there talking to you for 15, 20 minutes, but they can't stand you. They got a lot of hate in their heart for you. And then it says, but they're deceiving you. See, they just waiting on the right time to let that hatred out against you. That's all they doing. So you have to be cautious of people, right? And know who it is that you're dealing with. What type of people are they? This is why Mashiach Yahushua said you would know my people by their fruit. Salaki. Verse 25. They pretend to be kind, but don't believe them. Their hearts are full of many evils. And it's a lot of people out there like that. They pretend to be kind to you. Nice, kind, you know. It says, but don't believe them. Don't believe the pretenders that try to be nice to you or kind, because their hearts are full of many evils. Now, somebody may be kind to you, but they just may not like you like that, right? But there's no evil in their heart against you. You're just not their friend. So when they see you, they're just kind. They speak, you know, cordial, as we would say. But they may not have any evil in their heart towards you. But there are other people that are kind, and they're doing it in a deceiving way because they do have many evil or hatred in their heart. Verse 26, Salakia, it says, while their hatred may be concealed by trickery, their wrongdoing will be exposed in public. 27, if you set a trap for others, right? It's telling you, if you set a trap for others, you will get caught in it yourself. If you roll a boulder down on others, it will crush you instead. A lying tongue hates its victims, and flattering words cause ruin. So we have to think about, what does it tell us? I did a lesson on that tongue and how, you know, sweet and bitter, you know, you praying to the Most High, you know, all praises to the Most High, giving honor and glory to the Father and his Son, his only begotten Son. And then 20 minutes later, you cussing like a sailor, cursing somebody out. That same tongue. And then it says what? And flattery words cause ruin. Why? Because it's trickery, it's deceivery. You're just using that flattery to get over, to deceive someone, to get what it is that you want or what you need. These are all things of what? Deception. Not loving who? Your brother or your sister. Because what? You're nursing this hatred within your heart. Let me get another one. We're going to go to Romans chapter 3, Romans chapter 13, Salakia, Romans chapter 13. That's where we'll go to. And I want to jump down Romans 13 and 8. That's where I'm going to start at, Romans 13 and 8. And you can see it right here on the thing. It said love fulfills the Most High requirements, right? That's what it says. So Romans chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse 8. And it says, owe nothing to anyone except for your obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of the Most High law. So it says, don't owe nobody anything, right? We shouldn't owe anybody anything. A lot of us are in debt. A lot of us have climbed into this world in this hole, and it has overtaken us, and we need to get out of that, right? As best as possible, as best as possible. Do your best to climb out of whatever you in, whatever debt you in, whatever you have gotten yourself into. Little by little, I'm doing it myself. Just try to get yourself out of that, because that's how they hold that weight over your head with that debt and the things that you're into. This is why the Bible tells us, owe nothing to anyone, right? That way they can't hold that over you, except the obligation to love one another. So this is the obligation that we should have, to love one another. Once again, it's not enough love, and we don't know how to love, And you might say, well, I know how to love. Well, I'm talking about us as a people, as a nation, right? I'm talking about us as believers, not just you, but all believers, all people that are following Hamashiach, the anointed one, the Savior. All people. Do all of us know how to love? If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirements of the Most High law, right? Now, one of those is you shall not murder, you shall not steal, honor thy father and mother. It's a lot of those things that believers are not doing. You shall not have no other deities other than the Most High. You shall not bow down to graven images. There are believers that believe in the Most High and His only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawaah, that bow down to graven images. That's not showing love. But if you ask them, do they believe? They truly think that I don't want to say think. They truly do believe in what it is they believe in. But the love is not right, because if they did have the right love, it says you would fulfill the requirements of the law. So the love is misplaced somewhere. Somewhere along the line, the love has went a different direction. It's not the love that we should have for the Most High. Or otherwise, I should say, we don't know how to love Him correctly. This is why I said we do not know how to love one another. Verse 9, for the commandments say, you must not commit adultery. Like I was just saying, you must not murder. You must not steal. You must not covet. These and other such commandments are summed up in this one commandment: love your neighbor as yourself, right? So if we love one another, and I say as believers, because whether you believe it or not, yeah, it's a lot of things that go on in the world. And we know the world is wicked, and we know the world is evil, and we know what the people that do not believe in the Most High or His only begotten Son, we know what they're going to do. We know that already. So we know it's going to be wickedness. But then there's wickedness within inside of the believers in the congregation, inside the body, that men are still sleeping with men wives, or women sleeping with women husbands, or not thief, but stealing, taking things that they ought not take and using them for things that they ought not use them for, which are alms and offerings for the Most High. So this is why it's saying this in verse 9, because if we love one another, we wouldn't do those things. We wouldn't sleep with another brother's wife. I don't care how she looked or how much she tempt you. You would not sleep with that brother's wife because that's your brother and you love him. And vice versa, that sister wouldn't sleep with her sister's husband. Why? Because she loves her sister. So she wouldn't commit adultery. She wouldn't do that act. And when it says about stealing, you wouldn't steal from your brothers or your sisters in the body. And if you wouldn't do it to those in the body, you definitely wouldn't do it to a non-believer. Why? Because you have to set a standard and show them what righteousness is. And then you must not covet. You must not want things that other people have. So this is why it says in verse 9, love your neighbor as yourself. Verse 10, love does no wrong to others. So love fulfills the requirements of the Most High law. So this is what Paul was going into about how the law is, we're not under the law. I don't want to say done away with, but we're not under the law. Why? Because you should be walking in love. You should be humble. You should be meek, right? The fruits of the Spirit. All these things, Galatians chapter 5, 21 on down, right? Joy, peace, happiness, meekness. All these things are the fruits of the Spirit. If you're walking in these things, as he says in there, then you're not under the law. Why? Because you're full of love. And it says love does no wrong to others. So there's nothing that you would do to somebody. You wouldn't murder them. You wouldn't steal from them. You wouldn't sleep with their companion or their significant other. You wouldn't covet anything that they have. You wouldn't bring any type of harm to them. Only thing that you would bring to them is love. And that's why it says it fulfills all the requirements of the Most High law. Verse 11. This is all the more urgent, for you know how late it is. So he's telling us this time when he wrote this, that it's a very urgent time. Like you go to the hospital and you go to the emergency room or urgent care, right? Why? Because something is going on. You couldn't wait for your appointment. You needed to go right now. So he's letting us know this is all the more urgent, for you know how late it is. It's already late. We're late to the party. We're late to the wedding. Time is running out. He's telling us. The little glass, when you turn it upside down like that, is running out. Wake up, he says, right? He's telling us as brothers and sisters to wake up. As though as that we're asleep, right? We're asleep. We're in that slumber state, thinking that we have time. A lot of people that are believers on this earth, we think that we have X amount of days and X amount of time. But Paul is letting us know right here, wake up. You don't have that as much time as you think you have. For our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. When he first believed. So it's closer now than when he first believed. So imagine how close it is now. He's been dead for almost 2,000 years. So imagine how close it is now and how more urgent it is now and how he's probably screaming at the top of his lungs, wake up, beating on the door, please wake up. And everybody's walking around sleep, wanting to debate when the Sabbath is, or when the new moon is, or when this is, or when that is, or as my date is right, or I got the truth, or all these different things. Man wants to be right. They want to be right. Verse 12, the night is almost gone. I mean, when you go into this and he's letting us know time is almost up. He said the night is almost gone. You might say, well, how is it night? Well, when Yahawashi was here, he was the light of the world. When that light left, then what came after that? When light leaves, darkness comes. So it's dark right now. When he comes back, that light comes back. Now, don't get me wrong, as I showed you earlier in the book of Baruch, chapter 4, if you hearken to his word and you listen to his word, he says what? You will walk in the light thereof, in the presence thereof, and you will be what? Illuminated. Because you are part of him. So a believer that follows his word walks in what? The light, and you are illuminated where? In a place of darkness. That's why it says in the book of John, what? Light has came into the world, but man perceived it not. Why? Because their deeds were evil. They loved darkness rather than light. So we have to understand what it is. This is why he says in Romans 13 and 12, the night is almost gone. That night shift is almost done and over with. It says the day of salvation will soon be here. So remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes, right? So all of the evil that we do, we should be trying to remove it, or we should be removing it day to day. You should be working on that, praying on that, asking for him to help you. Well, whatever it is that you may be going through, I don't know. But everybody has something they going through. Anxiety, depression, obesity, lust, drunkenness, whatever it may be. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, we could sit here for hours and probably go down a list of the different dark deeds that people have. But the Bible is saying to do what? So remove your dark deeds like dirty clothes. So we have to start looking at our evil that's inside of us and our darkness that's inside of us. We need to start looking at it as we have on dirty clothes, right? Foul clothing. And if something is dirty, most people would want to take that off and put on something clean. You have some people who don't mind wearing dirty clothing, you know, but that's the state of mind that they're in, that they're okay with walking around and being in dirty clothes for multiple days. But the Bible is telling us to change, get rid of it, remove those dirty clothes and put on what? The shining armor of what? Right living. So we have to make a change and put on what? That righteous living. And it shines bright. Why? Because you become wise. And that's your wisdom. As I read earlier in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 4, that's your wisdom in what? In the sight of all the other people of the world, all the other nations of the world. That you can show them that, hey, this is the way. This is where the true life is. This is where life really is. Verse 13, because we belong to the day, as we said earlier, because we belong to the day because we're children of what? Light. We must live decent lives for all to see. This is what Paul is telling us. We have to live a decent life. What does it mean to live a decent life? To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know. And the reason I say I don't know, because if you want my opinion, it would be vain. You want my opinion, it would be vain. It would be what I think a decent life is, right? But I don't want to tell you my opinion. When you want to know what a decent life is, all you have to do is go to scripture and it'll tell you what a decent life is, right? And it's going to emphasize on this in the next paragraph, right? We must live decent lives for all to see. So other people that are not living this way will see you living in a different manner, right? So he's going on to let us know, and I'll highlight this so you can see it for yourself all the way down. He says, don't participate in the darkness of wild parties. So no, believers of the Most High and his only begotten Son, right, Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world calls Christ, right? The anointed one, the savior, you cannot go to wild parties. Now, you might say, well, can we go to parties? It says wild parties. What if the party is not that wild? What do you think? I'll let you use your judgment on that. It says don't participate in the darkness of wild parties. So if the party, whether it's wild or not, and it's just a party, does it have darkness there? Is the darkness there? And it says, and drunkenness or drunkenness are in sexual promiscuity and immoral living, are in quarreling, or jealousy. These are things that we can't get into. You can't be just sleeping with all these different people. You can't have any type of immoral living. You can't be arguing or bickering with people back and forth, right? And you can't have jealousy. Verse 14 says, instead, clothe yourself with the presence of the master. So we need to clothe ourselves, right? We need to put on righteousness with what? The presence of the master, Yahawashi HaMashiach, and let yourself think about ways to indulge, Salakia, and don't let yourself think about ways to indulge in your evil desires, right? Because it pops in your head, if you're honest with yourself, whatever your evil is, like I say, you may be dealing with anxiety, you may be dealing with bulimia, you may be dealing with depression, you may be dealing with lust, you may be dealing with a lot of things. And those type of things tend to pop in the person's mind, how you may be feeling. You may be feeling down. You may be feeling like you have an attack coming on. You may be feeling depressed. You may be feeling like whatever. But it's saying, don't let yourself think about ways to indulge in these things. Think about who? Our master, as it says right here, Hamashiach Yahawashi. This is what you want to think about. That's what your mind should be on. Hamashiach Yahawashi. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat. Okay. The brother Marv has said some things. He said, Shalawam, Khan. Let me see. First John chapter 4, verse 20. If anyone says, let me just get it. First John chapter 4, verse 20. Khan, let me get that for you real quick. Hold on. First John chapter 4, verse 20. Let's go there. First John 4. And 20, right? It says right here, First John chapter 4, verse 20. If someone says, I love the Most High, but hates a Christian brother or a sister, that person is a liar, right? For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love the Most High whom we cannot see? Verse 21 says, and he has given us this command. Those who love the Most High must also love their Christian brothers and sisters. So that's a command. The water, thank you for that, brother marvelous, I should say. And that was a very marvelous verse to bring out. 20 and 21, So once again, as the brother just brought out, that we have to love one another. And this is why I say we don't know how. We don't know how to love one another. We don't know how to show love to a fellow brother or a fellow sister. The lines are so blurred, and we need to start working on that more and more. I try to work on it. My family tells me I've come a long way, but I still got a long way to go. A long way to go, and I work on it day to day, and it has taken me years just to get where I'm at now. to show me how far off I was from love, how cold-hearted and cold I really was, almost where you need that chisel, and in the heart is so, that brick of ice around it, and you chiseling away, Now the thing that's making it go away and evaporate is what? The word of the Most High. And I can only say that. That's why the family may say, they tell me that, you're getting better. But it makes me think of how cold that I was and where I need to be and where I need to get to. This is why it says right here in 20, I'm going to read it one more time. If someone says, I love the Most High, right, but hates his fellow brother, Christian brother, the one who believes in Hamashiach Yahushai, or the sister, that person is a liar. They don't really love the Most High. This is why I say that when we say we love, it has been altered somewhere. The love that we think we know or we think we have is not real. It's not real. Because if it was real, then we would what? We would love our brother and we would love our sister. For if we don't love people we can see, how can we love the Most High whom we can't see? And that's just being, he's just being completely honest here. In verse 21 says, and he has given us his command. Who? Well, the Father gave it to the Son, and the Son related and has given it to us. Those who love the Most High must also love who? Their Christian brothers and sisters. That's a command, that you have to love your brother and you have to love your sister. I don't care what they did. You can't nurse hatred in your heart. All the way back to Leviticus, we read Leviticus 19, 17, 18, right? What a great scripture to bring out, Brother Mar. Let me see if we got another one. He got another one here. Let me see. Zechariah chapter 3, verse 4. Zechariah 3 and 4. Let me get that too. That was a beautiful one, though, right there. Thank you, Brother Marvelous. Zechariah 3. Let's go there. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 3, and we'll be at verse 4, right? So the angel said to the others standing there, take off his filthy clothes. And turning Joshua, he said, see, I have taken away your sins, and now I'm giving you these fine new clothes, right? Kind of like what Paul had just said in Romans 13, that you need to take off those what? Those deeds of what? Evil, of wickedness, of darkness, and put on what? That shiny new armor, right? So that's another correlation that goes together with what we was talking about in Romans 13, right? As you can see right here in Zechariah 3 and 4. Thank you for that, Brother Marv. I appreciate that, man. That was some beautiful scriptures to bring out, that people can see that we have to put off that evil or that darkness, right? That's upon us, really. Thank you for that. Let's go to John chapter 3 real quick, or John 13, I should say. Salakia. John chapter 13. John chapter 13. And for those who know, you may know where we're going already, but that's fine, and there's others out there who may not know, but we're going to let and make sure that all our brothers and sisters know where these things are, right? And I think I want to start at about verse 33. Let me see. Well, I'll start at 34, right? And it says, so I am giving you a new commandment, right? Somebody might say, well, who is this speaking? Let me show you who's speaking, right? And it says, as soon as Judas left the room, who? Yahushai, who you would say Jesus, right? The time has come for the Son of Man to enter into his glory, and the Most High will be glorified because of him. And since the Most High receives glory because of the Son, he will soon give glory to the Son. Dear children, I will be with you only a little longer. And as I told the Jewish leaders, you will search for me, but you can't come where I'm going, right? So this is where it is. So we know now who's speaking, Hamashiach Yahushua, right? Christ. Verse 34. So now I'm giving you, so this is Christ, Hamashiach Yahushua, saying it out of his own mouth. So now I'm giving you a new commandment. So you may want to know, like I say, you clicked on this, you see the title. What is the new commandment, right? What is the new commandment? And are you keeping it? Like the title says. John chapter 13, verse 34. So I'm giving you a new commandment. It says, love each other, just as I have loved you. You should love each other. So that's the commandment, is that we need to do what? Love one another. And that's what we have not been doing. It's not enough of that. If it was, there would be no divisions within camps. There would be no divisions within churches. There would be no divisions within the brotherhood. There would be no divisions of anything or anyone that's a believer in the Most High and his only begotten Son. Why? Because he has given us a commandment that tells us to what? Love each other, just as he has what? Loved us. Verse 35, your love for one another, right? Here it is. Your love for one another will prove. Let me highlight this part. If we love one another, right? Black on black crime, black on brown crime, right? Black on anybody crime or any crimes. But if we love it as a believer, as we're loving and we're loving each other as a believer, well, there is no crime. Why? Because you love your brother and you love your sister. This is why it says your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my what? Disciples. Why? Because you're walking and showing love to people, individuals, other nations. Remember where we went to? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 6 on down. This is your wisdom and understanding in the sight of all the other who? Nations, which are people. This is your wisdom and understanding. This is why it says right here, you will what? Prove to the world. You will prove to all of those other people, all of those other nations that you are who? Hamashiach Yahushua, true disciples. Why? Because you're walking in love. Simple as can be. But since we're not walking in that and we're not showing that, we're showing the world something else. And this is why people say, oh, you a Christian? And then they laugh and then they mock and then they call names. Then they blaspheme and they curse. And then you start to blaspheme and then you start to curse and then you start to mock and then you start to get into, you come to the same level that they at. And then they turn around and say, see, look, and they said that they believe. See, look, they said that they was a Christian. And they got you on the same level that they are. This is why people don't want to believe in the Most High or put their trust in the Most High and his only begotten Son. You have to elevate yourself to another standard and show love. And I know, like I say, I'm learning. I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I got it all figured out. I know how to love completely and be humble completely. I don't. But I know through his word, no matter what I feel and how I want to be this way, and I'm a man and I'm this and I'm that, I know I have to humble myself because, yeah, I am a man. But in the eyes of the Most High, I'm just his child and his servant. Right? And that's where you have to humble yourself. I'm just here for the Most High. He has put me here. He has given me breath. He has given me life. So, yeah, I might want to get up and rant and rave like I'm big and bad, but really I'm nothing. I'm only what the Most High allows me to be, because at any time he can take anything from me, my sight, my hearing, my speech, my legs, my arms. He says this in the book of Exodus chapter 4 when he's talking to Moses, when he was telling Moses to go to Pharaoh. And Moses said, I'm not an eloquent speaker. He tells Moses, who have made the deaf? Who has made the blind? Have not I made man's mouth? So the only reason I'm able to sit here and do these things and give these type of lessons is through the Spirit of the Most High. And he's showing me day to day how I need to get better and open up my understanding of what? Loving my fellow brother and my sister. Not sitting up, debating them, trying to see on a vain opinion who is right or who is wrong. Let's debate on the love, right? Do you have the love of the Most High? Do you have the love of Hamashiach Yahawashi? Do you truly love him? Because he says in the next chapter, let me go to 15 real quick. He says in the next chapter, in 15:13, right? 12, I say, this is my commandment. Once again, love each other in the same way I have loved you. And he laid down his life for us. He had no sin. So he's telling us to love one another, each other, in the same way he loved us. And are you willing to lay down your life for a fellow brother that's a believer? Are you willing to we talking about everything aside, you laying down your life for this brother, even though you got a wife, even though you got kids, even though you got a job, even though you got a house, even though you got a car. All those things aside, if something was to happen, would you be there for that brother, willing to lay down your life for him or sister? This is what Hamashiach Yahawashi is saying. This is the commandment, right? Let me highlight the commandment. This is what it is. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. Verse 13 says, there is no greater love. There's none greater than to lay down one's life for one's friends. So this is how we have to love one another. And you know we're not doing this. If you honest with yourself as a believer, if you believe really in the Most High Yahweh and his only begotten Son, Hamashiach Yahawashi, you know honestly, as a people, we are not loving one another to this standard. We're just not. We're just not. And we need to work on that. We need to get better because this is a command. Right? And it says in Matthew 5:17 on down there, we have to what? We have to go over the Pharisees and the scribes. I'm going to get that, but hold on. Verse 14, it says, you are my friends. You are my friends, he says, if you do what I command. So we can be Hamashiach Yahawashi friend. If we do what he commands us to do. I no longer call you slaves, right? You're no longer a slave to Hamashiach Yahawashi, because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends. So he's my big brother. He's my friend. Since I have told you everything the Father told me. He goes on to say, you didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for, right? Whatever you need, using who? His name, Hamashiach Yahawashi. And we know that these people were wicked. Let me get that real quick. Matthew 5:17. We know that these guys were wicked. These Pharisees and scribes, they were wicked. I'm going to just go right to what I was talking about. Let me see. Yeah, right here, verse 20. It says, but I warn you, unless your righteousness is better than the righteousness of the teachers of the religious law and the Pharisees, right? You will never enter into the kingdom of heaven. So our righteousness has to supersede those of the Pharisees and the scribes. It has to go over that. Otherwise, we won't see the kingdom. And they definitely wasn't loving. They were trying to put Hamashiach to death as soon as he came on the scene teaching. There was no love in his heart. And they knew he was an Israelite. but they still wanted him put to death. Like they said, give us who? Barabbas. They was going to take. They would rather take the murderer than the man that was bringing wisdom and light. You know. So we have to be cautious of that. As I get ready to close out, let me go to another one. Let me see if anybody said anything. Let me see. Con. I think I went to that just a minute ago, Marv. John 15 and 13. Con. Thank you for putting that up there. Yeah, I went there. I was gonna go there. Thank you, Marvelous. Yeah. And that's a powerful scripture right there. John chapter 15, verse 13. You know, as it says, greater love has no man than this, that what? You lay down your life. For who? Your friend. And like I say, we're not loving like that. We're not loving our brothers like that. We're not loving our sisters like that. You know, and we should. It's amazing how the wicked can love or say that they love one another like that, was really like revenge and things of that sort. And they go out and take revenge, but they say it's, you know, revenge for their brother that they love or their sister that they love, you know. But a fellow believer wouldn't even take it to that extent. Not that we want to go out and take revenge on anyone, but be willing to lay down your life for your brother or your sister, you know. So you know, and that's what it's about. You know, that's really what it's about. Let me make sure for those who didn't see it, let me go back to that real quick. John 15 and 13, right? As it says, I'm going to read 12 and 13 again. It says, this is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. Who is this talking? Hamashiach, Christ, right? 13, there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. And as believers, we need to do a better job at this right here. You know, so I'm calling on the body, the nation, you know, for those out there that may watch this or watch this at a later time, or you share it with someone, you know, I'm putting a call out and I'm asking not only you, but help me too, that we as a people need to show love and how to love one another even more, you know, especially within the community, to say that we love one another, to share love, to show love. You know, we don't say it enough to our brother that you love him. You know, we say Shalawam Ahchyam, peace and blessings Ahchyam, you know, Barakatah Ahchyam, bless you. All these things we say, but do we ever tell a brother that we love him? You know, brother, I love you. You know, I just wanted you to know that before you left. You know, I wanted you to know how I feel about you, brother, that I love you. You know, I want you to know that in your heart, that you can depend on me, that you can count on me, you can call on me, you know, and those things mean a lot. And for the sisters too, you know, that another sister know that it's another sister out there that she can reach out to, that has love for her, that she can confide in, somebody that she can talk to, you know, and not go backbiting on her and telling her business, going against the scriptures and things that are written. So, you know, like I say, man, that was a beautiful scripture that you brought out, Brother Mar, and I greatly appreciate it. You know, let me go to this one real quick. 1 John chapter 2, for those that have their Bible or computer or phone that are going along with us. And it's 1 John chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 7. Let me get this as big as I can get it for you guys. And it says right here, a new commandment. So if you clicked on this channel and you see the title, you know, what is the new commandment? And we've been going into it this whole lesson. And, you know, the bottom line of it is that is love. And it's something that we are lacking as believers. You know, there's not enough love. It's enough arguing. It's enough fighting. It's enough backbiting. It's enough adultery. It's enough thievery, stealing. It's enough murder. It's enough of all these things. But one thing is not enough of is love. And that's a commandment that we should be keeping, because it says if we keep that, then that will what? Fulfill the whole requirement of the law. So we're missing one of the greatest components of us as believers. not knowing how to love and not showing love, right? It says in verse 7, dear friends, I am now writing a new commandment for you. Rather, it is an old one. So it's not really new, but he's refreshing it. He's bringing it fresh again to your mind, kind of shaking it up. Maybe you have forgotten. And I think that we have forgotten. Notice I'm not saying y'all, I'm saying we, because I'm a part of this too. We are brothers. So it's not a you problem, it's a our problem. If you have a problem, I have a problem. Why? Because we are brothers. If you broke, then I'm broke. Just like if I have something, you have something. And that's how the apostles did it. This is why when they came, they went and sold all of their properties and their homes, and they came and brought the money to the apostles, and they divvied it out to what? Those that were in need. So that nobody was in need and everybody was covered, because we're all brothers and sisters. For one brother to have something and another brother is starving and doesn't have anything, that's not a real brother or a real sister. And that's not showing love. So let me read this. Dear friends, I am now writing a new commandment for you. Rather, it's an old one you have heard from the beginning. This old commandment to what? Love one another. And that's what the call is, That's what this whole call is, to love one another. Is the same message you have heard before. You may have heard a message like this before. And we, as the body, for those who are putting in work, doing the work, whatever it is that you do, even if you're not going out preaching or teaching or doing videos and anything, you can show your work and show your will like this by showing love to your fellow brother or your fellow sister, right? Because as we read earlier, Hamashiach Christ, he said, this is how you will show the world that you are what? My true disciple. So in showing love, you are showing the world that you are really Hamashiach's disciple. When you do this, to love one another is the same message you have heard before. Verse 8, yet it is also new. Yahweh shall live the truth of this commandment. So he walked in this. Why? Because he laid down his life for us. He loved us when we didn't even love ourselves. You didn't even know you was going to be living right now. And he died for you 2,000 years ago. He already died for the sins that you commit in this very day or yesterday or tomorrow, whenever you do sin. He already died for that and covered that for you. Why? Because he walked in what? Truth. He walked in what? Love for you. Something that you didn't deserve. Mercy, compassion that you didn't. I don't deserve it. We don't deserve it. That's why it's under grace. That no man should boast. Nobody can say anything. I don't care what you keep, all the commandments, all the laws, all that. You still can't boast in anything because it was Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, who did it all. It says Yahweh Shai live the truth of this commandment. And you also are living it. For the darkness is disappearing. And the true light is already shining. It's already shining. That's why we're doing lessons on this, to bring forth more fruit of this love, to shake it up, to know that we need to love one another and tell a brother, look him in the eye, grab him and tell him, brother, I love you. You are my brother. And a sister, you tell that fellow sister, if you really love her, if you have love for her, let her know, I love you, sister. There's nothing that I wouldn't do for you. If you need me, if you need someone to talk to, call on me, sister. I'm here for you. And really say it and really mean it and be there. Verse 9, if anyone claims I'm living in light, but hates his Christian brother or sister, that person is still living in darkness. So all these people that you see in these churches, in the community, in the body, that say that they love, They in the light, they speaking in tongues, they jumping up and down, they doing all these things. The Bible says that they really living in darkness. If you still are what? Having that hatred in your heart, nursing that hatred in your heart, as Leviticus say. Verse 10, anyone who loves another brother, Salakia, anyone who loves another brother or sister is living in the light and does not cause others to stumble. And this is what you want. You want to make sure that you don't cause anyone to stumble, because that sin, or if that person stumbles and fall, will be attributed to you. And you don't want that. You don't want another brother or sister to stumble. Verse 11, but anyone who hates another brother or sister is still living and walking in what? Darkness. You don't want that. Such a person does not know the way to go, having been blinded by the darkness. And this is key right here, because we, as a people, as the body of believers, we have been blinded by who? Satan, Hasatan. Why? Because we're not showing love. There's no way all these things would be happening to all these believers, or the world could be as it is with all of these believers in the world, if we were really showing love to one another. The world would see that we are who? Hamashiach, Christ's true disciples. And we are really showing love to our brothers and sisters. When you see a fellow brother down and he say he's a believer and you know he's walking with Christ, then you will pick that brother up. There's nothing that you wouldn't do for that brother. He shouldn't go hungry. He shouldn't be homeless. He should not have no clothing. But clearly we can see that we have been blinded by what? Darkness. And we're not showing this love. And that's what this whole lesson today is about. It was about, is about love, right? That is the new commandment. As he said earlier right here in verse 7, I'll read it one more time. Dear friends, I'm not writing a new commandment for you, rather an old one. You have heard from the very beginning. This old commandment to love one another is the same message you have heard before, right? So hopefully, like I say, when you look at this, you can get some edification, you can get some understanding, from this, because our Father, he loves us, and this is why he tells us to turn. Let me get this real quick before we close out. One of the classics, right? One of the classics. 2 Chronicles 7:14. It says, then if my people who are called by my name will do what? Humble themselves. So we need to humble ourselves, right? And in humbling yourself, you will show what? Love. You will show meekness. You will have compassion. So it says, then if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear from the Shemayim or heaven and will forgive their sins and restore their land, right? So the Most High is letting us know we need to do. We just need to humble ourselves, repent, ask for forgiveness, and show one another love and follow his commandments, right? That's what we need to do. That's exactly what we need to do. The brother Marvelous. So yeah, like I say, the Zechariah chapter 3, verse 4, for those who may be tuning in now, please go back and read that, Zechariah 3 and 4. And then we was in John chapter 15, verse 13. Make sure you guys go back and read those things. And I want to show you this one more time. Let me make sure it's sharing in the book of Baruch, where we was. I want to go back right quick. Let me see if I can just jump back. This is 4. Yeah, Khan. Now remember, we read this earlier. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4, verse 1, and it says, this is the book of the commandments of the Most High and the law that endureth forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. So this is why, as a people, right, the body, this is why we're dying off. This is why the body is not strong as believers in Hamashiach. This is why, because we have done what? We have walked away, and we're not keeping that commandment that he has told us that we need to what? Love one another and not nurse hatred in our heart. As he said, as I just read 1 John 2:7, it's been since the beginning. It's not a new commandment, but it is a new commandment because we have forgotten. And now we have what? We have done such and forgotten it, and now we're dying. Physically and spiritually. We're dying. And verse 2 says, turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou may be what? Illuminated. You can be that disciple that we spoke about earlier and read about earlier if you show that love. As Hamashiach said, if you show that love in the world, then the world will see that you are my what? True disciple. Why? Because you will be illuminated with that light. So I call on the brotherhood. I call on all of the brothers and sisters out there that believe in Hamashiach, in the anointed one, the one who was smeared with oil, our Savior that was sent, to love one another, love the brothers and love the sisters. And if we can do that, we can build something better with one another. So that's what this whole lesson was about. You know, that's what this whole lesson was about. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. For those who did tune in and will tune in at a later time, hopefully it was edifying for you. Hopefully you can get something from it. And I just say thank you for allowing me to be able to do this. I want to give all praises, honor, glory, esteem to the Most High Yahawah and his only begotten Son, Mashiach Yahushai. With that, I say, Kram Yasharallah and Shalawam.